Hello, welcome to the video. You'll have seen a lot of Honda N boxes on the channel, but I thought it was about time I featured some other members of the N range, starting with this 2013 Honda N1. So in case you're not familiar, there's the N box, which then splits into N box and N box custom. There's also the Plus within the N box range. There's also the N box slash. Then there's the N van, N wagon, and the N1. I've just listed this for sale, and as is customary, I'm making a video about it. So let's dive into it. This is a April 2013 Honda N1 Premium L package. It was auction grade 4 and it's covered about 62,300 miles there or thereabouts. The same engine, 658cc, 3-cylinder, 12-valve petrol engine with CVT automatic transmission, as you'll find in the N box. And if you're familiar with the N box, the first generation N box, you'll notice a lot of similarities in the switchgear and stuff as we go round. Okay, let's have a look around the outside first of all. So Milano red with a black roof, the monsoon shields, as we are used to seeing on a lot of cars imported from Japan. It's got a clean MOT, no advisories. It's got a brand new set of Toyo tyres. Privacy glass or tinted glass for reducing the sun on the rear doors and on the tailgate. Got a reversing camera, and I'll show you that in a moment. Keyless entry, keyless start. Dare I say it? Go on, I'm going to say it. A very cute face. And it looks quite good with the side lights on as well, which I'll show you in a little while too. Let's have a look inside. We have three different colours of plastic trim in here, which at first I wasn't sure about, but I actually think it, now it's all cleaned up and everything, I think it works quite nicely. I mentioned that because I don't know how well it's, oh yeah, it's coming across quite clearly on camera. I was going to say I mentioned it because I wasn't sure how well it was going to come across on the camera. So that's one, that's two, that's three, in case it wasn't obvious. So electric windows all round, auto on the drivers, powered mirrors with folding as well. A sticker from a previous oil change service there. In terms of what I've done preparing this car for sale, so I've done engine oil, oil filter, air filter, spark plugs, cabin filter and transmission fluid and filter as well as the tyres, as I have already mentioned. That mat is just to stop me messing up the mats underneath, but I will reveal it to so you know I'm not trying to hide anything. Start it up. Hard to show every single light on here because you can't get all the 3 gauges in, but all the lights have come on and gone off as they should, leaving on the seat belt, the parking brake warning light, and the fact that the door's open, or the door open warning, I guess. That beeping was to remind me that I haven't got my seatbelt on. So we've got automatic climate control, the air conditioning is lovely and cold, CVT automatic as I said. Reversing camera there, with the customary, at least to me, if not to you, beep when it's in reverse. The head unit will do CD, DVD. It's got a USB slot there as well, and an SD card slot. Doesn't have Bluetooth, unfortunately. The FM frequency range as well, you may already know, but it's slightly different in Japan to over here, so you can't get the full range of FM frequencies. If you want something all singing or dancing, it would probably be best to change the head unit. Or if you like listening to CDs and the radio too, then you'd be absolutely fine as you are. Comes with the original owner's manual in Japanese. Also comes with 2 keys. We've got a glove box down there. We've got some more storage down there. Some more there and there. Cup holders there and there. Very nice leather steering wheel with colour coordinated stitching. In terms of adjustments then, we've got height adjustment on the seat here. That's for the angle of the backrest. The steering wheel can be adjusted for height but not for reach. Have a look in the back. 2 very comfy seats in the back with ISOFIX points on both of them. They're just in those little slots through there. These little indicators show where they are. Just say a little bit about legroom. So I'm 6 feet tall. That's me sitting comfortably in there. You can see plenty of space, and I don't need the seat this far back, but that's with the seat as far back as it will go. If I swap to the back, so although it's not as big a car as the N box, we still have that excellent legroom for rear seat passengers and also headroom. So I'm sitting up straight there. There's still about, what, three fingers worth of space between my head and the roof. Show you the boot space. Very good boot space, I would say, for the size of car. There's actually more space in the boot in one of these than I think there is in an N box. It seems slightly deeper. Under here we have a really useful size storage space with the tyre inflation kit, and then underneath here, I can't hold the camera and do it, but under that flap there is the jack and towing eye, etc. And then the seats, the backs of them lift up. If you want to carry larger, taller items, not in the boot, in the back here instead, you can do that. And then they also fold flat like that, to give you really quite a large boot space. I'll just do the other one as well. As you may have spotted there, you don't need to fold the base of the seat up before you put the seats flat. You can just do it straight away from the normal sitting position. So that's really quite a good amount of boot space. You definitely fit, I don't know, it pains me to say it when the car's so clean, but you know, one of those big builder's bags of hedge clippings or something like that in there. It's that kind of size. Really, really useful space. All right, let's see what it's like to drive. So really easy to get in and out of, as we've already covered earlier on. All the controls are where you'd expect. Indicators on the right, as they are with all Japanese imports. Wipers on the left as usual. Visibility is really good. You know, everything's where you'd expect it to be. It's not a very big car, so that helps. And then when we're ready to go, it's the keys in my pocket, so it's keyless starting, as I said. So foot on the brake, press the button, and the engine starts up, as we've already seen. If you press the button without your foot on the brake, then the first click puts it into accessory mode. The second click is key on, you know, even though the engine's not running. And then you cycle it again to off. And then if you want to start, you put your foot on the brake and press it, and then the engine will start. It's a foot operated parking brake, so you press it on and then you'll hear it ratcheting up, and then you just give it a gentle press and you hear it click there. You let it off and then away we go. So I've got the air conditioning on low because it's blooming warm today. Hopefully it's not interfering with the audio too much. Push the button in, down into drive, and when you're on the flat, as you saw just happen then, when you take your foot off the brake, the car will start moving forward. When it's on a hill, it's got quite a helpful hill hold feature, so it won't roll back if you're on a hill. If you're a regular driver of automatic vehicles, then you might think, blimey Andrew, that's a bit basic, isn't it? That's really obvious stuff, but some people haven't driven something like this before, so that's why I cover those extra bits. So gentle press on the throttle and away we go. So I mentioned before that this is a CVT automatic transmission. Now for some of you that will switch you off straight away. You say, oh, CVT, evil, not touching those. Yeah, if you want a K car, and there's very few exceptions, but generally if you want a K car, you're going to have to get used to CVT. As I say, there'll be some of you screaming then as well, because I know there are some manual K cars and there are some with a standard automatic transmission. In fact, the Suzuki Lapan that I've got coming up next, have a look on the website if you want more information about that. That is actually a standard automatic as well, but for the most part you're going to have a CVT transmission. Do remember that whilst they have their haters, it is actually the most efficient form of transmission, because it allows the engine to rev and then holds the engine in its most efficient or most powerful part of its rev range. And that's the reason for doing this whole explanation to you, is because if you've not driven a CVT before, it's very easy to assume that there's something wrong with it, because it revs up and then it feels like it's not doing anything. It's just revving, holding the revs, and that's about it. But do remember that whilst the revs aren't moving, the car is, and it's accelerating, because CVT, continuously variable transmission, is constantly changing the gear ratio. So it's keeping the engine in its sweet spot, but changing the gear ratio to build speed. So whilst this could never be described as a performance car, you have to disconnect your the relationship in your brain between revs and speed, I suppose, because the revs stay constant but the speed is increasing while you're accelerating anyway. You may have noticed the little leaf, the eco leaf on the dashboard just below the speedometer. It's basically got two separate shift patterns or characteristics. I say shift, I can't get out of the habit, but there aren't any gears to shift. So two separate patterns in terms of how high it will allow the engine to rev before adjusting the gear ratio. And Eco favours fuel economy, and switching it off in sort of favours performance, really. So it gives it a little bit more oomph. Very nicely damped from the road noise, I feel, these cars. You know, you can hear the engine revving away there, but it's not intrusive. Road noise isn't intrusive. You've got to remember though that you don't go expecting Toyota Century levels of refinement. In fact, probably don't expect Toyota Century levels of refinement in any car apart from a Toyota Century. But hopefully, though I'm rather exaggerating, you get the point. These light cars, that's what K stands for, K Jidosha. It stands for light car, or it means light car in Japan. They're built to a price, and so the sound deadening, I think, is pretty good. Not outstanding, but pretty good. Where I think this N1 does stand out compared to its taller, more boxy competitors is in handling. There's much less, I wasn't going around that roundabout to illustrate it, by the way, although it's a good time to talk about it. There's much less body roll when going around corners. in one of these than there is in, say, the Daihatsu Tanto, Honda N-Box, etc. The more boxy variants of the genre. Honourable mention should also go to the brakes, I think. I mean, we're not dealing with a performance car here, as is quite clear to all of us, but I think the brakes are really nice on these Hondas. What I mean by nice is that they've got a nice they've said it again, is they've got a really good progressive feel. It's not a sort of an all or nothing, and it's not a mushy, spongy, you know, have they actually been bled properly type of thing, as you get with some cars. So the brakes feel really good, really progressive, bring you up to a smooth stop. One thing you will need to get used to if you end up buying one of these is people looking at your car, because you don't see many of these about. I know there are others on the road in the UK because I've seen them at shows, etc., but you don't see many of them about, so do be prepared for some admiring. I think they're mostly admiring. Obviously there will be some who won't be, but mostly admiring looks as you're driving along. So quite often people ask me what these cars are like to drive, and they're worried that they're not going to be fast enough to cope with everyday traffic. I don't agree with that. I think they're more than adequate for everyday traffic. If you do an awful lot of motorway driving, I probably would recommend that you don't buy one of these, because that's not really what they're designed for. They can do it, but not really what they're designed for, as I say. So yeah, I'd probably look elsewhere if you do an awful lot of motorway driving. But for everyday use, I think they're more than adequate. It's a really fun little thing to drive, quite nimble, as I said, really nice light steering, really easy to drive and manoeuvre in terms of driving into parking spaces, reversing, all that sort of thing. So on the subject of motorway driving, will they do 70 miles an hour? Yes, they absolutely will. I think, and remember, I'm probably coming at this with a little bit of mechanical sympathy as well, given that I do the work on all of these cars myself. I think they feel most comfortable between 50 and 60 miles an hour. But if you're asking, will they do 70? Yes, they definitely will. So this is 50 miles an hour now, feels absolutely fine at this. It will do 60 as well, although probably not a good idea to do that along here. So the engine, as you're hearing there, I'm just trying to accelerate up to 60 for you. That it was holding at about 4,000 revs then. I was accelerating very hard. Now we're down to 3. And there we go, that's 60 miles an hour. Engine's revving at just over 3,000 RPM. Feels absolutely fine at that. I'll slow down now and turn in here. The small dimensions of a car like this can be a real advantage, especially on narrow little roads like we're on here. Also very good for dodging potholes, because you've got so much room for adjustment within your lane that you can avoid quite a lot more potholes with a car like this. You do have to recalibrate your your sense of how wide your vehicle is if you come into one of these from having driven something much larger. You know, if I go from my van to one of these, then it's quite a recalibration, because obviously you can be so much further over in your lane. So in summary, this Honda N1 is a fun little thing to drive. It feels really nimble, very easy to drive, great visibility, really easy to maneuver. I would say plenty of power and speed from this 658cc 3-cylinder engine for the vast majority of everyday needs. I think we'll leave it there. All right, that's about it for this video. Thanks very much for joining me. A few sort of closing remarks, things to say, I guess. Obviously this car is for sale. It's registered, despite me covering up the number plates for the video. It's registered, it's all ready to go. So if you are interested in coming and having a look at it or buying it, my contact details will be in the description of the video. I look forward to hearing from you. There'll also be a link to the website where there'll be some pictures on there if that's more your sort of thing, and some more information about the car. If you need any guidance on how to get insurance for one of these, then do give me a shout. I should be able to help you with that. If you're wondering about ULEZ or clean air zones, this at the time of making the video was ULEZ compliant and also exempt from charging in the other clean air zones around the country as well. If you want to be notified when I put out more videos like this, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks very much for joining me then, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next one. Bye for now.